Good morning, Warriors. Back with another episode of Vigor Warriors 2 and the 1% Club. Hope you guys are doing well this morning. I'm actually going to tape out of my classroom here. Hope you guys are doing well. Hope you guys are on your purpose, on your plan. And it's good to kind of see you guys during the day. I've been doing a lot at night and had a chance to really kind of get a chance to do one. So I'm going to do one today. So let's get to it, my friends. Let's get to it. A couple shout outs here before we do that. Let's go back to my list here because I got tons of people that I want to do this with. So Jerry Herrera, thank you, my friend. Talking about energy and attraction. We will talk about that in a video soon coming up. Awie, A-W-I-E, transmutation. Who wants to talk about more transmutation? I will try to do one and kind of add more things that we can do and how to transmute this energy. I think it's a good topic. SK Motorcycle, Women Attraction. We're going to talk more about that. And another one, Levi Kolombo, Universal Protection. I think that's really great. We're going to talk about that concept when it comes to retention and all the things that are involved in trying to build yourself up and almost have like an armor of God type of thing. So good. Optical Man, thank you as always. Information Channel, Frederick Gray, once again. Orca has given us Ephesians 6:10. Perfect. I love that. We'll talk about that in a little later one as well. And Jerome Jenkins also got a question about releasing beforehand, too early. So we'll talk about that one a little bit too in another video. And Cornelio Speechio, he likes the home video. Well, and I agree, my friend. Actually, the one I'm doing here is probably going to be better quality than the one that I would do in the car. I just have not had enough time, and I'd rather get you guys something than not get you something at all. And so because of working so long during the week and the busy period of time that we have with all the stuff that I'm doing, I get a chance to finally do one in the classroom and kind of relax a little bit and not just have to kind of rush through it a little bit to get one done. So, but thank you, Cornelio. I agree with your comment, and I'll try to do more if I can from either at home or at a workplace that I'm at. So, all right. And last one, Alvin. Once again, I love you, buddy, and likes the end. Oh, wonderful. I like continuing doing that. I get enjoyment and kind of fun out of doing the battle on and kind of raising my voice a little bit too. So, all right. Okay, guys. So back at 2:46 here, we're going to talk about the actual topic. Now, Eduardo had this one, and at first I thought it was something that really did not kind of pertain to semen retention. We could talk about it, of course, but I didn't think it did. But now that I think about it, I think I was incorrect with this. I think it does have a huge impact on semen retention. So the question he has is, what happens when your flesh dies during semen retention? So let's think about this a little bit. Edward, it's a very perceptive type comment that you're making. So let's examine this a little bit. So remember now, let's go back a little bit. You realize that everything we do, every type of thing we're doing, everything we are is made of energy, right? So we have energy stored with us all the time. In physics, we call it potential energy, kinetic energy. We have molecules. We have everything making us up. In Kelder's book, The Fountain of Youth, we talk about chakras, all these type of things. Now, a lot of this, my friends, is not the flesh. So the flesh itself is something that we carry around and we see. And to the normal person who doesn't know anything, doesn't have any kind of faith, religion, doesn't have any sort of belief in the spiritual, and certainly no semen retention belief, that person only sees the flesh. So this is all they see. They see the hand in front of them. That's all they see. So their whole life is based on that. And so as this question is asked, I pondered this a long time before we started doing this video. And I thought to myself, well, there's a lot of double meanings here with this. And so this is why Eduardo, I think, has picked a really interesting topic here. Because the Bible talks about this too, that we should not be living in the flesh. We should be living in the real world, which is not the physical world we see, but the spiritual world. Okay? So when I look at a question like this and I say, what happens when your flesh dies? Obviously, if we take it from the physical standpoint, We can talk about the life after and what happens, and obviously that from the law of physics, we're talking about the idea that matter cannot be created or destroyed. And so if something happens to you and your body disintegrates or kind of, rigor mortis sets in and everything, your soul, it will go somewhere. Now, in the case of most cases, those kind of material things turns into water, gases, and goes up. But the thing is, you're talking about the soul. And so as I witnessed before, as people pass away, I witnessed something going up in the air. I'm not sure, how to describe that. All I can say is this kind of looks like a mist or something that goes up in the air, and all of a sudden it's gone. Now, the whole interesting thing about this is the idea that we're talking about the flesh. This is just the flesh. This means to me, when I look at someone who passed away, and I saw both my parents pass away, this flesh that we're talking about is not the person any longer. The person was something inside of all that, moving it, doing something, right? Moving the flesh. So that means when the flesh dies, all that means is the flesh is dead. Now, the other part of this is dealing with the spiritual, which is really, to me, the crux of this question. The spiritual means that the flesh is dead, now you're living. So when this flesh dies, all of a sudden, you now become a human being, a godlike creature. Why? How does this apply then to semen retention? Well, of course, semen retention, the more retaining your journey you're on, the closer, in my opinion, you get to God, and the less you think about the flesh. And this is why sex and chasing women becomes less and less important. Yeah, there's times that you're still going to have that. We have that sexual energy within us, and we need to have that, of course. And probably those cases are good indications you still have it, right? If you still get aroused and excited about looking at a person or something like that. But the idea is that you're able to control that, and this is not something that's going to lead you down the path of releasing. Then all of a sudden, now your flesh is dead. In a sense, your flesh is dead. As an analogy, right, you are no longer of earthly flesh, things that are in flesh, or of the world. The Bible wants to talk about as of the world. So things like money, materialistic things, sex, women, men, these type of things are not that important to you anymore. And we talked about this in the last video, talking about having sex without releasing. And I mentioned many times, as you get longer into the streak, this idea of sex is not that important in life. And really it isn't. We're played up to listen to that in this matrix that we listen to and we see all the time. But the matrix is something that's not real. It's there to sell things, sell products, sell things that you have with you. And all of a sudden, now you're bought into this, and now you're following this pattern. When in a sense, what's really happening is that you are still in that flesh or worldly state. Once you move out of that state, now you're in the spiritual realm. And now most of your decisions are, yes, you're still walking around as a fleshly type person, but your desires, your needs are not of flesh. Your desires and needs become spiritual. And that's when you have the connection with God and everything else, in a spirit type of world. And that's when you can see Satan easier, and you can actually see those temptations a lot easier. You're not affected. So as that Eduardo's talking about here, it's a very great point that he makes. Obviously, when the flesh dies in the physical world, something happens to the spirit, right, or the soul. But during our lifetime, while we're here, we can actually say that the flesh can die. Because in many regards, we talk about the flesh, we're making an analogy with the world, and we're saying once you're able to control yourself, you start controlling that flesh around you that's inside of you, or outside of you, I mean. And so now, your flesh essentially is dead. And because your flesh is dead, now you can live a better spiritual world around you. So it's a very great point Eduardo makes. He's talking about the fact that we should not be living in the flesh. We should be living more in the spiritual world. And the reason that I went to the semen retention journey was because I wanted to get closer to God. Malcolm X had said this years ago. You look at different people like Muhammad Ali, you look at people over time who's done this for a period of time, they felt God was closer to them every step of the way. Now, once again, Satan, all the temptations can get to you any minute, so you have to be careful of all this. But in a large point of view, you're now realizing that there is several types of worlds we're dealing with there. We're not just dealing with the physical world, which people see and they think this is it. We're really dealing with the real world, which is outside of this. And people will think you're kind of going nuts when you talk about this way. But in a sense, when you think about this, you realize, especially when somebody passes away, that person is no longer physically there. So something happened to the person. And you can't just explain it away by looking at the flesh or the worldly types of things. So, once again, a shout out to Eduardo. Great topic. I like this topic a great deal. Again, we could talk about this any way you want to, but really what it comes down to is that by semen retention, you are leaving this world, even in a metaphorical sense, and you are going to the spiritual world. When you physically leave this world, you're still going. But all along the way, the more and more you realize that you're in the spiritual world, the closer you'll be to God all the way, and all of a sudden, you won't need a lot of these things that you have right now. These things are not that important anymore because they're not of the flesh. They're more of a spirit, and those things are things within your soul and things you need from God and not from something you can go buy at a store or you can have sex with, something like that. All right, my friends. Well, hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Hope you guys stay on your plan, purpose. We'll do another one. I got some coming up on brahmacharya, women in attraction, things like that, disciplined, and I will enjoy kind of sharing some of my thoughts on those with you too. All right, hey, guys, have a wonderful day, and remember two things. First, every day, and enjoy this one, my friends, every day is a new day to a great warrior. And secondly, you know I'm going to say, my friends, get ready, have a great day, and make sure you are battling on!